Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge, and today we have Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Men Tell No Tales. This is the most recent Pirates of the Caribbean film so far. Recent. They just always talk about another one, sometimes without Johnny Depp, some with Johnny Depp. And with all the controversies surrounding Johnny Depp's life these days, you really can't know for sure whether Disney is like, we're buddies, or no more Johnny Depp. I mean, already the Fantastic Beasts films have already released him, um, for lack of a better term. Uh, so who knows if Jack Sparrow will ever return in another film beyond this one? Even though Johnny really seemed to really like playing that character, and he practically lived it. Even showing up at D23 one year in character in he would also do that in the parks as well. Whenever a new movie was released, he would show up and take part at the Pirates of the Caribbean ride in Disneyland. It was kind of interesting, kind of neat. So yeah, he's passionate about this character, but this is supposed to be the swan song, even though there is an end credits sequence that has nothing to do with him. But there is an end credits sequence that teases that there could be more to come. Yeah, so this movie came out in 2017. It's 2 hours and 9 minutes long. It's the longest one we had in the last few days. Everything's been shorts and series and kids stuff. So we finally got a movie again. So it's kind of a nice change to stretch your legs for 2 hours. This is a big movie. It's got all the hallmarks of your standard Pirates of the Caribbean film. Always some sort of big action sequence toward the beginning involving a somewhat in well, not somewhat, pretty much not in control Jack Sparrow in the middle of a heist. In this case, robbing a bank, literally robbing the bank, as in stealing the entire bank. It seems to be Jack Sparrow's mo to somehow succeed by failing, but yeah, he does it once again, although he does sort of fail again at the end of that sequence. Either way, he is. It's been, since the last film was in 2011. It's been many years now. Before we even see before we see Jack Sparrow again in this film, we are given a sequence that takes place 9 years earlier, and yet probably 10 years after we last saw Will Turner and Elizabeth Swann, because their young son, who's probably about 10 or so, has found his way to the Flying Dutchman and has found his father, who's been stuck there on that ship. And Will turns him away and says, "No, no, not having this. You're not gonna. You got to get out of here. They're gonna find you, and it's not gonna be good." And that leaves young. Why can't I say the character's name? Henry Turner. Henry, played by the way, played by Brenton Thwaites. He plays Robin on Titans, the DC series. So that's kind of neat. I saw his face. I'm like, who is? Why do I recognize this guy? It's Robin, Nightwing, whatever, from Titans. Kind of cool. He has an accent in this one. So he's sent away, and suddenly it jumps ahead 9 years later, and it seems that nobody except for Henry has aged. Henry's now a young man, who is getting in all sorts of trouble trying to find a way to rescue his father from that curse. And he has thoughts on this, and there is a woman who has similar thoughts, who's also looking for something, a MacGuffin. It's looking for a tool, a magical artifact that will reveal things and will release curses and all sorts of other things. So their paths cross, and of course it's a sort of a redo of their parents, or his parents' star-crossed romance. And of course Jack is in the middle of all of it, and they're all brought together along with Captain Barbossa and a few other surprises along the way to hunt down this object. But the thing is, Jack especially. They're all being hunted, but Jack especially is being hunted by. What's his name? His name is Captain Salazar, played by Javier Bardem, and this is one of the kind of great things. Whether you like Johnny Depp or not, whether you like the Pirates movies or not, you have to admit that for a movie or a series of movies, 5 movies so far at least, based on a ride at Disneyland, these are pretty good. And it's not just your standard, hey, it's a pirate here and swashbuckling and sword fighting. It's not just that. There's a humongous um, supernatural element to all of this. There's, ghosts and sort of zombie kind of things, and everybody's back from the dead half the time, or the living dead. Salazar has been cursed after being, well, I won't give that away. He is really not a big fan of Jack Sparrow, and through him we get to hear a story and see the story of Jack Sparrow's origin, Captain Jack Sparrow's origin, and they do a neat little thing with Johnny Depp. There's a lot of aging technology used in this, and part of me has to wonder if it was an actor that was sort of combined with him, or if I don't know, if they just de-aged him. I have no idea exactly how they do it. I'm sure there's a behind the scenes thing that tells you all about it, probably in the details, or the extras. The extras probably have it. I don't know. I didn't check it out. But yeah, there's a lot going on in this movie. Surprisingly, it's only, like I said, 2 hours and 9 minutes long. Lots of people's stories, lines are crossing, and one of the great, like I was trying to get to the point here, is that it's a comedy, it's an action adventure, obviously, it's a supernatural thriller type of thing, but it's also kind of a horror movie. If you're wanting to introduce your young kids into something that they feel familiar with, like at Disneyland, and they know Johnny Depp from his other roles and things like that, but they want to see a good big action adventure that, yes, gets a little muddied and over excited at times, but still at the heart of it, this is kind of a way to introduce your kids to horror movies a little bit, because the monsters, the bad guys, are always pretty super creepy. Skeletons and missing skin and faces, and it's kind of creepy. It's you know it. You've seen all these guys, even from the very first film, the Black Pearl. It's yes, it's not horror. It's not slasher horror or whatever. There's all sorts of different types of horror, but this is fairly creepy stuff. That if you were going to introduce your 8-year-old or something to something a little bit more intense, and I think they get a kick out of it. I don't know. I don't have an 8-year-old to ask. So anyway, but we get to the main female in this is Kaya Kaya Scodelario. She's going to be in a new Resident Evil movie. She was in the Maze Runner series, stuff like that. She's amazing to watch. She's easily the smartest person on the screen at any given time, especially when Jack is involved in any pirate. She's kind of the driving force behind this movie, and moving from point A to point B to point Z, and pushing everybody along to get the goal reached. So the movie keeps going. It keeps moving. It doesn't let up for the most part. It's great. For me, one of the most fun sequences is the guillotine sequence. It's absurd. It's a Looney Tunes type of situation. Honestly, it's Jack Sparrow is a cartoon character for pretty much a lot of this. The whole bank robbery sequence, dragging a bank from its foundations and taking it through the city as everybody's chasing them, and all sorts of things going crisscrossing throughout. It's a big deal. But when they get later on, when the what's her face is about to be hung, Karina is about to be hung, and Jack's about to be guillotined. This new way of execution, sounds French. They're able to. It's hard to explain if you haven't seen it. Odds are you have seen it, but just for me, it's just fun to see it as they break part of the platform that the guillotine's on, and it starts spinning and looping, and his head is in the guillotine, and as it rotates, the blade moves up and away, and just moves in just almost there to cut his head off, and moves away again depending on the rotation of the thing. It's really convoluted way of saying that it's a really neat, fun effect, and I don't know how they did it, but I'm sure it tells us somewhere if you took the time to watch the extras. Anyway, it's a to me, I enjoy the films. This gave me a new appreciation for this film because I don't think I've seen it since it was in theaters, and that was just 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah, it's 2017. So yeah, and by the way, we haven't seen a Pirates of the Caribbean film for over a year. The last time I checked, the last time we had one was the 17th of January. So yeah, so it's been a while. So we're getting one a year so far. On Stranger Tides is still not on Disney Plus, just like the first Maleficent isn't. I guess there's some sort of still outstanding deals with other streamers. But yeah, someday on Stranger Tides will be added. But for now, all the other films are on there, and yeah, this one also has, just like the one before it, from 2011, has the unique situation of not having Will and Elizabeth as the main characters. As I already told you, Will makes an appearance in this. So it's not humongous, but it's important. And this sort of gives them and everything, the whole Pirates of the Caribbean series, a good sense of closure. So if they never made any more again. But Disney likes printing money. And even if they reboot it completely with a completely set of different actors, or a whole different storyline, or go back to some characters we already know and have seen in previous films, who knows? The next Jack Sparrow might be a female. You know it might happen. Come on. Or the Jack Sparrow-like character. So for me, I enjoyed this film. It's a great. I think it's a great wrap up to the whole adventure series, and who knows if they'll extend it sooner rather than later. Let's pick tomorrow's episode.
193.
Okay, 193. Finally, something out of the 3s and 400s. Ha! Okay. I have seen this before, but I will happily revisit it again because it's a great little series. It's a series of shorts, and right from the Toy Story 4 film, this is Forky Asks a Question. It's 10 little shorts of him. If you recognize Forky, if you've seen Toy Story 4, you know who I'm talking about. But Forky asks questions that everybody's asked at some point in their lives. And about money, about love, I think, about all sorts of things. And he gets answers from the other toys that he's gotten to know from the playroom. So we'll check that out. Forky asks a question on the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. I'll see you back here tomorrow. Bye.